All right, we've come to the end of the chapter. So what we're going to do is we're going to progress with some reviews and a practice test. This is the first review. This is review A, and then we are building up towards the test. So what this review is, if you take a quick glance at it, it is all of the major concepts covered in this chapter. Okay, and I'll give you an idea on how to answer some of these things and fill out some of the results. Okay. So we begin with competency 1, and we are looking for the mean, median, mode, so averages. Okay, so a good place to start with this is our calculator. I go to that stat. I have some junk in my calculator, so I am going to delete all. And I enter these values into my calculator. Again, trying to be ultra careful that I don't actually make a button slip. Probably with that being said, I'm probably going to make a button slip. All right, so 20 numbers. And again, you probably want to thumb through this relatively slow to double check that you actually have all of the correct numbers entered and you didn't accidentally hit a wrong number. Okay, which I'm totally good. So I have a grand total. My grand total is 20. All right, so the total number of numbers in this situation is 20. That is going to be kind of helpful coming up. All right, so the first thing to do is to find the mean. So what it means to find the mean is I add them all up and I divide by the number of numbers. I add them all up and I divide by the number of numbers. So I add them all up. I put again in list 1. So I add them all up and I divide by the number of numbers. That is finding the mean. Right there. The median. I noticed that there are 20 numbers in this list. So if I divide by 2, that implies 10. So because it's an even number, it's going to be in between the 10th and the 11th number. So I have to find the 10th and the 11th number. Now, I can't just go to my calculator and just go to the 10th number and it be true. What you have to have is these numbers in order to find which truly is the 10th and the 11th number. So I have to put these numbers in order. I can't just arbitrarily choose any 10th number that I want. All right, to do that, what I need to do is I go to the tool option and I sort ascend. How many lists? 1. Which list? 1. Okay, now that they're in order from small to big, I can see that the 10th number is the number 72. And the 11th number is 73. So the middle of those two things would be 72. There's 72 and 73. Add them up and divide by 2. And that's 72.5. The mode is the most often. So what I do for that one is I just kind of scan through this. So I see that I have 2 62s, 3 71s, 4 72s, 4 73s. So it looks like it's going to be 72 and 73, in which there's 4 of them each. 4 of them each. 72 and 73. Just going to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 73, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 each, and that's more than anything else. So because they're there more than anything else, and because they're there more than anything else and they're there the same number of times. That is a dual mode, 72 and 73. Next is the mean with a 10% trim. So what that means is I am going to cut 10% of the numbers, the highest 10% and the lowest 10%. So the first question is, well, what is 10% of the numbers? So 10%, 0.10 of the numbers, and there are 20 numbers. So 10% of 20 is 2. So that means I'm cutting the 2 smallest numbers off the list and the 2 largest numbers off the list. Also, I'm cutting a grand total of 4 numbers off the list. So my grand number of numbers is going to be, not 18. It's going to be 16 when all said and done. So if I cut 2 and 2, I'm cutting 4 numbers off this list. All right, to my calculator. I go to my list. So my 2 smallest numbers are the 68s. So I go ahead and delete, delete. I deleted the 2 smallest numbers. I go to the very bottom of the list and I see that the 2 largest numbers are 77 and 77. So I delete, delete. So I deleted the 2 smallest and deleted the largest. And so now I find the average just as I normally would now. I add them up and divide by the number of numbers. So I add them up. And I divide by the number of numbers. Note that it is now 16, not 20. Wonderful. Number 2 is a weighted average. All right, the weighted average. So this is the weights, and these are the scores that she got. So she wants to know what is her percentage in class right now. So her grade is going to be her scores times the weights. So let's go with the tests. And then the final. So the scores were the 85 and the 91, and the weights were the 77 and the 23. So you divide by just the weights. So my complete top answer is going to be 85 with 77 and then 91 with 23. The denominator is 1. So she has an 86% of complete in class. Number 3, give a data set that would be trimmed. Data set that would be trimmed. And so this is when I think of a typical class. And so make it a substantial size, and then make one rando weird number. Don't make too many rando weird numbers. Just make one number that is completely off the charts. All right, next I have the standard deviations and the variances and stuff like that. What's important to get correct answers in this section is to know the different formulas. So f squared s and coefficient of variation. All right, so that will get us going. So looking at my list, I need to pull out some of the important variables. So x is the list itself. X bar is going to be the average of that list, and n is the number of numbers, and I see that there are 5 numbers in this specific list. So I need to find that average So I go and enter this stuff into my calculator, and I have to clear out the old stuff. And so I enter my 35, 37, 35, 39, and 36. So those are my 5 numbers. I need to find the average. So I go to my main calculator, I add them up. And divide by the number of numbers. And so I see my X bar is now 36.4. Now I have all the tools to make my formulas work. So the very first one is going to be the sum. Open, X, which is list 1, minus X bar, which is 36.4, close squared closed. So the numerator is 11.2. The denominator is n minus 1. And then, so yeah, it's 11 divided by 4. The s is the square root of the s squared, so s squared is 2.8. So I'm going to square root that answer. As I said, square root that answer. Coefficient of variation is going to be s divided by x bar times 100. So again, just like when I did part B, I didn't actually type in 2.8. I could have, and it wouldn't cost me anything, but what I did is I used the answer option in my calculator. Just like the numerator here, I'm not going to type that in. I'm going to use the answer option as in my calculator. All right, so I'm going to take the answer divided by 36.4 times 100. Compute the coefficient of variation. Find a 75% Chebyshev, so 75% implies that this is going to be x bar plus or minus 2 standard deviations. Again, the other ones are 88.9, which is x bar plus or minus 3, and 93.8, which is x bar plus or minus 4 standard deviations. Again, you need to have these on hand, so if the actual test asks you something weird, you know which ones they are. So if you need to take a screenshot of this or write this on a piece of paper or something like that, do that. Absolutely. Anywho, this one is dealing with the 75%, so this is going to be the x bar plus and minus 2 standard deviations. So I start off with the minus 2 standard deviations, so minus 2 10.57s. So that obviously gives me a smaller number. And the larger number would be the 67.28 plus 2 standard deviations. And so that is my interval. You begin number 6 with a percentile. A percentile, again, think of it as a measurement from 0 to 100. And so we see that Juan's physical fitness test is in the 80th percentile. So 80th percentile, that would imply 80 below, 20 above. So what percentage scored above Juan's? 20%. What percent was below Juan's? That would be 80%. Okay, here we're talking about trout and Oak Creek Canyon, et cetera, et cetera. We are going to be making a box and whiskers. So what is in your best interest? And this is to actually make sure that this list of numbers is in order. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my calculator to help me out with that endeavor. Oops. Sorry. I meant to delete all. And so I have the numbers 22, 25, 19, 23, 26, 23, 30, 24, 27, and 24. All right. And so what I want to use is this tool, sort ascending, and enter that in. So these are my numbers in order from small to big. And so I'm physically going to write these down on my piece of paper. So I have 19, 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25, 26, 27, 30. That's it. Double check. So I see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers compared to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers. Okay, we're matching up. All right, so the 5-value summary, you have to physically write this in, is going to be the min. Make an equal sign. Min, quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3, and a max. You have to put that on your paper. So the min is the smallest number, that's 19. The max is the largest number, that's 30. The quartiles are these medians that we're going to need to find. So finding the median. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Okay, it's in between those two numbers. So if you don't know, you can add them up and divide by 2, but in between 24 and 24 is 24. However, it's not an actual 24 that is on the list. Okay, I would take it out in that case. What this means is this low side 24 now obviously belongs to the low side. This high side 24 belongs to the high side. Because now I need to find the medians of the lows and the highs. And if I would have negated those 24s, then I would come up with a wrong number. So the low side is 1, 1, 2, 2. It is that 23 right there. High side, 1, 1, 2, 2. It's that 26. So we put these in order from low to high, so 23, 24, and 26. 23, 24, and 26. Create a box and whiskers. Well, they are very nice, and they already created a number line for us. What these little gray lines are all about is to kind of help you create straight lines. So 19 is going to be right here, so I put a dot and label it 19. Don't forget to label things. 30 gets a dot, so 30 gets a dot. It's labeled 30. 23 gets a line. Oh, that's not where 23 is. It gets labeled 23, 24, and 26. Connect the tops with the tops, bottoms with the bottoms, and these dots to the middle of the sides. What is the interquartile range? The interquartile range is the biggest quartile, and that's quartile 3, minus the smallest quartile, that's quartile 1. So quartile 3 minus quartile 1 is 3. There, that's it.